hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Tiffany Sapp, the minister of this church, and my pronouns are she and her. We're going to get started with some singing this morning, and since it's the holiday season, we are going to start with a Christmas classic, O Little Town of Bethlehem, which is hymn number 246 in our gray hymnal. The lyrics in the hymnal are just one version of the lyrics of this popular Christmas carol. I think you will find that this version, especially the third verse, is a little more in line with the Unitarian Universalist perspective than other versions of the hymn. So it's hymn number 246. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing O Little Town of Bethlehem. gives her words life in ways that I could never imagine. Her powerful presence, her wry smile, she knows what she means to say, and she says it. If you're with us on YouTube, I cannot edit her video into ours without getting us in a great deal of copyright trouble. So I invite you to pause this video, open up another tab and search on YouTube, Maya Angelou, Still I Rise, and click on the first result, which should be her reading her own work that we all just heard in this space in person today. I invite you to do that before watching the rest of the YouTube video, because it is a beautiful way for us to start our time together. She is the embodiment of Black feminine power. I am a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. It's a breathtaking image of sacredness that challenges some of the typical ways that we use imagery of darkness. Today, we look at how darkness and blackness can be metaphors for that which is good within us. During this dark time of the year, let's see how this imagery calls us to rest and peace in a season that often demands too much of us. We light our chalice, a symbol of our community here, with words that point to the richness of both the dark and the light.
We come now out of the darkness of our unknowing and the dusk of our dreaming. Come we now from far places, come we now into the twilight of our awakening and the reflection of our gathering, come we now all together. We bring unilluminated our dark caves of doubting. We seek unbedazzled the clear light of our understanding. May the sparks of our joining kindle our resolve, brighten our spirits, reflect our love, and unshadow our days. Come we now enter the dawning. Good morning. I am Bradley, your service leader here at Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. We welcome you, old friends and new, young and old, online and in person. You are an essential part of our gathering here today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, we are stronger because of your presence. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Please silence your cell phones. Please observe the perfume-free zone. This week, we have moved back to a medium risk. This means that for large gatherings like this worship service, masks are required. We have some near the entryway if you need to borrow one. If you cannot wear a mask with us, we ask that you not stay, for everyone's safety. Fortunately, we will continue to have a YouTube option for people who cannot be with us for whatever reason. Smaller group gatherings at this time can still be unmasked for those who are vaccinated, and coffee hour and food events can still be held during medium risk with the understanding that those do not happen in here during worship gatherings. No matter what the risk level, we have color-coded wristbands so that you can indicate your distancing needs. And it is especially important to stay home if you are sick.
So I have a question for you all, and I'd love to see a show of hands. Who here likes the dark? All right, a couple of yeses, a couple of maybes. Who here doesn't like the dark? Yep, totally valid. All right. Well, today is a story about one person who likes the dark and one person who doesn't. And we're going to see what they can teach us today.
There was once a child who got lost in the woods. As night began to descend, the child became more and more frightened. I'm sure any of us would be frightened too in that situation. But what made this child even more frightened was that she had always been afraid of the dark.
I don't know why I don't like the dark so much. I just don't. I always try to be inside by the time the sun goes down in my brightly lit house. But now I'm out here lost in the woods, and it's starting to get dark.
When the sun was all the way down, and the only light was just a tiny bit of light from the moon and the stars, the child got so frightened, all she could do was sit down and cry, which she did. When she looked up from her crying, she had a great fright. She could see two glowing eyes looking down at her. Before she could scream, which was her first impulse, there was a flutter of wings, and the creature flew down near her, and she could see that it was an owl.
Hello, little girl. Why are you crying here in the dark?
At this, the child burst out crying even harder than before, because as frightened as she was of the dark, having non-human animals speak to her was beyond her experience, and a little frightening in itself.
No need for all that crying. Are you lost? I can guide you home.
An owl that talks? Who can guide me home? How strange is this? But what do I have to lose?
So this pair headed off through the dark forest in what the child hoped was truly the direction of her home. When her fear left her just a little bit, the child looked around, and though the moonlight was dim, she began to notice her surroundings a bit. At one point, she noticed a kind of flower that she had never seen before, and slowed her pace just a little so she could gaze at it.
That's an evening primrose. Did you know that there are some flowers that bloom only at night? There are moonflowers and night gladiolas too, flowers you would never see if you never went out at night. And of course, there are animals too who love the night and the darkness. Me, for example, I love the dark. In the daytime, the light hurts my eyes, so that's when I like to go into my tree and sleep.
Well, I like the daytime. I can see to kick a ball. I like the hot sun at the beach. When the dark isn't scary, it's just boring.
Boring, you say? I do believe we should take a quick detour for me to show you something.
In no time at all, they had found themselves at the beach, lit very gently by moonlight.
This is certainly beautiful, even in the dark, but I wouldn't call it exciting.
Just then, there was a movement in the sand, like a little bubble of sand rising up. And there was another little bubble, and then another. It looked almost as if the beach in the area they were looking at were boiling. Then, out of one of those little bubbles of sand popped a rounded shape.
Looks like we got here just at the right time.
As they watched, more and more shadowy shapes came out of the sand, and soon the child realized that she was seeing lots of baby turtles, hundreds, climbing out of the sand. This is truly exciting. Once each turtle shape pulled itself up out of the sand, it started crawling as fast as its little legs could carry it towards the water.
When baby turtles hatch, they need to find their way to the water. They almost always do this at nighttime because to find the water, they need darkness everywhere else to follow the moon and starlight reflecting off the water. Daytime sunlight is too bright and scattered everywhere for them.
The child looked on all of this in wonder. And then they began to walk back toward home.
You know who else loves the darkness besides nighttime plants and animals? The moon and the stars love the darkness. That's when they can really shine. Oh, they're there in the daytime as well, hidden behind a wall of light. But when that wall goes down with the sun, the stars and the moon reveal their beauty.
After what seemed like a very short time, the child and the owl left the forest and walked down a street that the child recognized as her own. She was very happy and relieved, but but also a little sad to say goodbye to the owl, to whom she gave a very gentle hug and a thank you. She went into her home and, being extremely tired, got ready for bed right away. Before she went to bed, as a matter of habit, she bent down to turn on the night light that she always kept glowing through the night to keep the dark at bay. But before her fingers touched the switch of the night light, she smiled and pulled her hand away. She got into her bed, pulled up the covers, and let the comforting arms of the darkness soothe her to sleep. The end.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
I would like to invite you to enter a period of quiet for a guided meditation. You may wish to adjust your position so that your spine is straight, your body relaxed, your hands resting gently in your lap. You may want to close your eyes and shut out the distractions of the light. And let us take a few deep, slow breaths as we begin. With vision muted, notice what your other senses are telling you. You may feel a sense of pressure in your back or on your sitting bones where your body comes in contact with your chair. You may feel tightness in your shoulders, along your jawline. Release any areas of tension that you notice. Soften your neck and the swallowing muscles. Release any tension you feel in your abdomen, imagining the inner organs in your belly, letting go of tension. Soften your eyes. Let them feel warm and relaxed, as if floating in a pool of water. Inhale. Exhale. You may notice strange sensations such as tingling in a muscle or a ticklish feeling on the skin. Whatever comes to your awareness is okay. Just acknowledge it in the silence. Let us turn our attention to the sounds around us. What do you notice in the sanctuary? You may hear your own breathing or a growling stomach. You may hear a neighbor shifting position. You may hear the buzzing of electricity in this place. Perhaps a car passing. Perhaps wind blowing outside. Having acknowledged these outward sounds, let us turn our focus inward now. Thoughts may float through your consciousness, and you can just let them float on by. Feelings may bubble up from some deeper place with you. You don't have to name the feeling or put any words to it. Just notice if there is anything there for you with gentle acceptance. Now imagine your body and mind are filled with darkness and silence, like the deep dark night in a wilderness. Take comfort in the stillness, the restfulness of this space within you. Don't try to make anything happen. Just rest into this inner darkness, knowing that you are safe in this moment. You can simply be. Simply be. Breathing in and breathing out. In the quiet corners within, let us sense the healing powers of the body, the amazing ability of our soft animal body to restore damaged cells, to create new healthy cells, to bring balance to systems that have gotten out of whack. Let us acknowledge, too, the creative powers of our minds and hearts. From the mysterious inner regions of ourselves comes all poetry, all music. From the inner dark emerges all sculpture and dance, all the art and cultures that are the heritages of humanity. Even consciousness itself, the great unsolved mystery of science, resides in the deep, dark, unknown of ourselves. Continue to be with your breath and a still, quiet mood as you rest a while longer in the darkness, with humility and awe and gratitude for all the powers of the darkness within yourself. Thank you. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow in person, you can use the candle cards, which are located back there. And if you'd like to share a joy or a concern from a distance, you can email me at minister@hvuuc.org. I don't believe we have any candle cards today. If you wish to light your own candle, you can go around and form a line by the window, and Bradley will assist you. If you're on this side of the building, please go through the back door and around so that you're not caught on camera. If you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand and I will acknowledge you, and I will light a candle for you at the end. And we light our first candle for you who are not in the building but are ever in our hearts and minds. Candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
Our reading today is a poem called Creation in the Darkness, which you can find in Reverend Kristen Harper's The Darkness Divine, a loving challenge to my faith. Reverend Harper has been the minister of the Unitarian Church in Barnstable, Massachusetts for 18 years and has written this collection of essays and poetry to reflect on how she has found her whole self to be fully sacred, from her dark-colored skin to her feminine voice. In the beginning, there was darkness, a blackness that covered all, comprising the building blocks of creation, the nutrients and nurturing needed to birth the world. This dark womb pushed out the light that released the heavens and cradled planets and stars adorning the universe. It formed the darkened earth from which all life emerged, and to which all life returns when our bodies take their final breath. It is the same darkness that shelters us from an unrelenting sun, that calls animals to a safe hibernation, that protects the germination of seed and bulb. Darkness signals the end to the hectic chaos of our days and lulls us to sleep and revitalization so that we can face the next challenge. There is peace in the darkness, and mystery, and the unknown. And if we can rest in its gaze, cease fighting to control it, we just might see in it the face of God.
Imagine with me an episode in the Star Wars universe. A young Jedi holds a green lightsaber glowing with light. He stands against a great evil cloaked in black. In deep, sinister tones, the black cloaked figure tells him to give in to his hate and violence by turning to the dark side. He resists, just barely, by holding on to the love and compassion of the light side. Not only does he manage to stay in the light, but that love and compassion saves his father from the dark side as well. It's a clear and simple myth. The dark side is so powerful and so seductive that even giving in to your anger, fear, hate, passion, or jealousy will lead to a disastrous fall where all of a sudden you are capable of the most horrible of acts. In this cosmology, especially the original trilogy, dark clearly means evil. And this isn't the only place where we see this symbolism set up so clearly. Old cowboy movies are especially famous for this kind of dualism, though current portrayals have often gone against the trope. But generally, what color hat does the good guy wear? White. And what color hat does the bad guy wear? Black. The first movie to do this was the 1903 short film, The Great Train Robbery, meaning that we've had this cowboy movie trope 20 years longer than films have even had sound. The HBO series Westworld still engages in this classic imagery where they have the scene where a character deliberately puts a black hat on right before going to shoot up a building and a bunch of people. In this trope, white hat is good, black hat is evil. This can be easy and useful symbolism that says a lot without actually having to say anything at all. This communication through shared references is one of the best uses of metaphor and symbol, but it also has its limits. Every time I think about metaphor and symbolism, I think about what Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us in the Buddhist tradition, that the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. Dark is not literally evil. Black is not literally evil. Metaphors are the finger pointing, not the moon itself. And there are also times that darkness and the color black have been used in the opposite way. There are times that ancient symbolism has used the dark as a metaphor for that which is good, loving, restful and quiet, even wise within us. In the temple of the ancient Hebrews, the Holy of Holies, the place where their belief system said that God literally lived, it was dark. This Holy of Holies was shaded by 7 veils. By the time you got to the center where God lived, it was as dark could be. In the Taoist tradition, using the symbol of the yin-yang, dark and light dance around each other, together, folding in and out of each other. And while they are absolutely different from each other, both are good. Light is masculine, active, orderly, and certain. Dark is feminine, restful, changing, and mysterious. Neo-pagan traditions also embraced the idea of darkness being associated with the divine feminine. The goddess descends to the underworld where all is dark and underground. The goddess descends, and it is not a place of evil at all in her experience, but a place of empowerment and wisdom where the dead rest and where lovers are reunited. When the wheel of the year turns toward the dark, when the days get short and the nights grow long, it is an invitation to rest and reflection and wisdom, not evil. My goal in contrasting the ways that this metaphor of darkness can be used is not to eliminate one medical framework and one metaphorical framework and install another. I don't know anything about medical frameworks. But here our goal is to expand our metaphorical language to make room for more. I will always be moved by the growing light that happens during the winter festivals of light service. And I will always feel my heart swell when I hear Amanda Gorman say, "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." I don't want to get rid of those things. Like the Taoists, I'd like to see beauty and goodness in both the light and the dark. What does the symbol of darkness have to offer us in this expanded sense today, here on the cusp of the longest 3 nights of the year? For starters, it might just mean the world to a young person of color who has lived in a society steeped in the light and white is good and dark and black is bad imagery. Kristen Harper, our Black Unitarian Universalist theologian that wrote the poem that Bradley just shared with us, tells in her book about what it was like for her to grow up with images of God and Jesus that were always white guys. It led her personally to reject all notions of the sacred because the imagery suggested to her that she was not made in God's image. This is a painful, probably unintended side effect of leaning too hard on the white is good, black is bad metaphor. And it was something that the early slavers were quick to latch onto. It is not a coincidence that the first slave ship to ever reach American soil was called the White Lion. And these images of Jesus as a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, when, if he existed at all, was very much more likely to have dark skin and brown curly hair, those sorts of metaphorical messages do add up for a young black kid. Kristen tells in her book about how she experienced a personal turning point in her views of the sacred when, as a grown-up, she saw a play in 1996 about a black woman's experience with her own identity. At the end of the play, all the women get together and sing, "I found God inside myself, and I loved her." Kristen then began to see and write about that which was sacred within Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and Rosa Parks. She began to wear a t-shirt that says, "I met God and she's black." For her, challenging this trope was liberating. She says the idea that there is a black goddess who reflects my divinity is a powerful and empowering concept. I guess the finger pointing at the moon isn't the moon, but it really helps to see the moon if the finger that is pointing looks like your finger sometimes. Something that people of color have too often been denied in the way our culture has used this symbol and language. Another very Unitarian Universalist way of using positive darkness imagery is in embracing mystery and the unknown as good things. One of our starting assumptions here is that we don't know everything yet and that maybe we never will. Darkness, as a symbol of what we literally cannot see, the unknown, can be a powerful invitation to let go of the pressure to know everything already. So, if you're comfortable doing so, I want to invite us back into that space we were in the meditation. If you want to, close your eyes and remember how that felt. What does this do to your senses? How do you take in information differently when your eyes are closed? Do you become more aware of what you don't know? Do you find ways to understand what you do know differently? You can reopen your eyes now if you'd like. You're also welcome to listen to the rest of the message with your eyes closed, though if I hear you snoring, my feelings will be hurt. When our eyes are closed, we are drawing a boundary with our own senses that says, I'm going to focus on my inner world right now. I'm going to see what the wisdom of my body offers up with less distractions. One of the profound benefits of many religious paths, including Unitarian Universalism, is that it gives us a framework to use to embrace mystery. This is an essential part of our search for truth and meaning, as embracing not knowing in the areas where we don't know is the only way to uncover new potential knowings. We have to allow skepticism to do its job. We have to give us the space to not have all the answers. This imagery of waiting in the dark, quiet stillness, waiting for clarity, embracing and being embraced by a cloud of unknowing, showing us how to remain open to mystery and change. These are very good things. Finally, embracing the positive aspects of the metaphor of dark also invites us to participate in this current winter season in healthier ways. How many of you here, you can raise your hands if you want to, how many of you here feel busier now than you do most months? I do. If you don't, you're awesome and need to be up here instead of me. This much busyness during a time of colder weather and less light cannot possibly be good for us. Our entire mammal body is telling us to rest. In Catherine May's book, Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times, she writes, plants and animals don't fight the winter. They don't pretend it's not happening and attempt to carry on living the same lives that they lived in the summer. They prepare, they adapt. They perform extraordinary acts of metamorphosis to get them through. Winter is a time of withdrawing from the world, maximizing scant resources, carrying out acts of brutal efficiency, and vanishing from sight, but that's where the transformation occurs. Winter is not the death of the life cycle, but its crucible. My friends, no matter how many technologies we invent, we don't get to stop being mammals ever. Our bodies are inviting us to rest, and we would benefit from listening to them. I hear friends and loved ones talking about themselves in shaming ways, saying, "Gosh, why am I so lazy today?" What would it sound like to reframe this and say, "Wow, my body is really inviting me to rest. I wonder what burden I can put down for now so that I can be healthier long term." Now, any of you who know me knows that I'm really struggling to practice what I preach with this. The life that we're living in the here and now really doesn't allow for the amounts of rest that our ancestors embraced during this time of year when the harvest was brought in and people were just gathered around the fire trying to stay warm. I have a lot of work to do in this area of rest, or maybe I should say I have a lot of rest to do and leave the work part out of it. It's countercultural, and I don't always succeed at combating the capitalistic narrative that tells me that my worth and my productivity are tied to each other. But I can feel it deep in my bones that if I don't rest now, illness will force me to rest later. So I will take it when I can. My strategy for me in my particular lifestyle is that once the sun sets, I'm pretty much done doing, barring emergencies and meetings with people who can't keep the same schedule I do. Each of you will work out your own relationship with sleep and rest this season, but I hope you will at least begin your work or your non-work by assuming that rest is a good thing and that you need more of it right now than you probably think you do. I know I do. Rest doesn't always look like naps either. Sometimes it's cuddling on the couch with a cheesy movie on. This season offers lots of extra cheesy movies. You can play with your pet. You can do some baking. What's restful for one person is work for another. So find your rest. Find your peace. So that's a practical and concrete takeaway for this Sunday. How are you being invited to rest, and what feels restful to you? The longest night is almost upon us. I hope that these long, dark nights will be a source of comfort for you instead of fear. I hope that you will find rest and recharging when you need it. I hope you will practice loving that which is mysterious and uncertain. And I hope that you will enjoy an expansion of what can be sacred, what can be good, and what can be blessed in the darkness.
With gratitude for the balance of light and dark and how both nurture us, let's extinguish the chalice. You're fine. Blessed is the dark in which our dreams stir and are revealed. Blessed is the dark of earth where seeds come to life. Blessed are the depths of the ocean where no light shimmers, the womb of all earthly life. Blessed is the light to which we are awake, the light that sparkles on the waters, that calls the tree forth from the seed and calls the shadow forth from the tree. Blessed are we as we move through the darkness, through the light. Thank you for being with us today during this holiday season. Coffee hour is happening today. Today at 2 p.m., the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans will be having their winter solstice gathering here. All are welcome. We are still taking donations for the Giving Tree, which has become quite popular in downtown Johnson City this month. You may bring items to the office this Tuesday or Thursday during office hours, or email givingtree@hvuuc.org to coordinate items that you have to give. Please keep in mind that we will not be meeting here next Sunday, which is Christmas Day. But on Christmas Eve, we will be having a casual gathering for Christmas stories, Christmas carols, Christmas cookies at 7 p.m. The church office will be closed, and Reverend Tiffany will be on vacation, having her rest, from the 25th to January 1st, but she will be available this coming week. And Pancakes and Jam will be our first service of the new year on January the 1st. Brent has some announcements. Where is Brent? Here's Brent with announcements.
Hello. Not much to announce, just regarding Pancakes and Jam. That's going to be 2 weeks from now on January 1st. That's probably my favorite tradition of the year. It's going to be, if you've never been before, it's going to be an open mic style event where we have music, possibly poetry reading, stuff like that. Anyone who wants to perform any music or do a reading or anything like that, you can get with me personally, or you can email pancakesandjam@hvuuc.org. The men's group, Macho, will also be providing a big, delicious pancake breakfast, and anybody who wants to help with that, if you identify as a male, you can get with the men's group and email macho@hvuuc.org. They'd probably appreciate any help. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today and for being willing to get curious about new ways we can use the metaphor of darkness to symbolize good things for us instead of our fears. I have some pretty big news for you all today. Sarah White, who has been our Director of Religious Education for the past 7 years, has shared with me that it is time for her to transition from being our Director of Religious Education back to regular membership in the church. Sarah is going to pursue some opportunities that she just can't do while serving as our Director of Religious Education. And this is the happiest kind of transition, when someone is moving to something that is really right for them. So I'm sending her with my blessing. She will still be with us as our DRE until Sunday, January 15th, which is when we will make the transition official. We will begin the process of seeking out a new long-term Director of Religious Education soon, and when we do so, we will be looking for that person from sources outside of this congregation. But in the meantime, we will be looking for an interim Director of Religious Education, most likely from within this congregation, to keep things going during that transition. This will be paid, it will be 15 hours a week or less, and will primarily be about maintaining the volunteers and the programs that we already have in place that Sarah has set up for us. We will be posting the job description for this interim position in the coming week. And that it's going to be very different from what we're looking for long-term, but we're just looking for an interim person to maintain. Anyone who is interested in this temporary way to help the church out and get paid for it in the process should reach out to me personally by emailing minister@hvuuc.org. But don't talk to me about those things either before or after the service, because I will probably forget. So email or text if you have my number. So congregational life is always full of changes, and I am excited about what these new opportunities may come up with this, even though I really am going to miss working with Sarah in this way. 7 years is a pretty long run for a part-time position like this, and she has navigated our kids and families through a lot of big changes, including a pandemic. Sarah was going to be here and then had a minor emergency come up, so she's not here. But I think it would be good to still thank Sarah for all that she has given us these 7 years. So, let's go forth with a blessing. Since we've been talking about the dark today, I invite you to close your eyes if you want to for the benediction. May we know the dark like the mama bear's cave, where labor and rest are held in balance and new life begins in mystery. May we know the dark like a child held securely in arms of love as we are invited to peace. May we know the dark like a seed knows the dark soil, waiting to burst forth with joy when the time is right. May we know the dark as a sacred mystery, where unseeing invites other senses to sharpen, and where unknowing is a gift. May we all love that which is dark and divine within us. Blessed be. Amen. And may it be so. I think that during this hour, we've had the chance to encounter the idea of darkness in a different way. This reimagining has been an important part of Black liberation within the churches, so much so that feminist liberation theologian Jan Aldridge Clanton wrote about it to the tune of O Little Town of Bethlehem. The lyrics of this hymn she wrote are in the insert in your bulletin. So we are going to close out our time together with this closing hymn. The tune is exactly the same as what you sang this morning in the opening. The lyrics are printed in your bulletin. This is also a time that we pass our offering plate. Funding for everything you see and experience here and all the ways that we help our wider community comes completely through your donations. So please share what you can to keep the love going. Now please rise with me in body or spirit for our closing hymn, O Holy Darkness, Loving Womb.